The Miami Dolphins look like a freaking track team. I mean, I have not seen a team that is simply this fast on the perimeter. We know about Tyreek Hill, he's the freaking cheetah. We know about Raheem Mostert, former track star. We know about Jalen Waddle, another speedy guy. Now they just unleash Devin A-Chain. Hell of a name, firstly, but this whole team has accumulated over 700 yards of offense and then 70 points. 70! I haven't even seen a team go past 60 since 2010. And now a team just scored 10 touchdowns in an NFL game. And that's something that, you see like these SEC teams beat up on these no-name schools early on in the season. They're just the cupcake games to get those teams started for the college football season. But this is the NFL. To get 70 hung on your head is freaking embarrassing. And yes, the Broncos are not the same team as they historically have been defensively, but let's have some pride, guys. There are some players on that defensive end, and they were just getting outpaced. I know Miami is fast. I know you're playing in the heat of South Beach on a September day, but this just looked like quit. And yes, Russell Wilson, very problematic in his play in his time in Denver, but this isn't even on him. He actually was okay. His defense didn't even give him a chance. And this comes back to Sean Payton. Sean Payton was here to resurrect the Denver Broncos and fix Russell Wilson. He didn't want to take questions. He was embarrassed. I get it. But when you were running up the score, for example, in 2018 against the Philadelphia Eagles, you were stunning, right? You were happy. You were jolly. You got to take the heat when it goes your way too. I know you're not a defensive guy, but you are the head coach. Anything about the team is associated with your name. It's just not looking good for the Denver Broncos. They just got embarrassed, 70-20, lost by 50 points. And with Russell Wilson, this is not even entirely his fault, but it just seems like the way this season is going. If he were to have another string of bad games, I think he could be benched. I think he could be on his way out because the new ownership, they seem tied with Sean Payton. That's, I think, a given. You don't just hire Sean Payton. You also don't trade for Sean Payton from the New Orleans Saints to Denver for just a one-year gig. You did that with Nathaniel Hackett. That didn't go well. It seems that Russ, unfortunately, now, I thought last year Nathaniel Hackett was the scapegoat, and now maybe might be the other way around now with Sean staying and Russell Wilson leaving. But it's just looking really bleak out in Denver right now. I mean, there were at least some hope. Like, you think maybe you'd be 1-2, 2-1 at this point, but this could get really bad. I mean, I talked about Chicago being bad, but at least, they're not getting outscored by 50 points. That's a whole nother thing. It's also funny too, because Sean Payton was the guy that came into the season and roasted Nathaniel Hackett. I think, yeah, Nathaniel Hackett wasn't that great, but he wasn't blown out like this. There was maybe some mismanagement, right, with clock situations, and that was his first time head coaching gig too. Sean Payton has won a Super Bowl in New Orleans. He's been at this for a while. He only took a break for 1 year. So let's not coddle him. It's also on Sean Payton. He should get a lot of the blame for what's going on in Denver right now. But let's go to the other side. Let's be positive here now, right? Miami, they look like a freaking track team, like I said. You unveil Devin A-Chain, who had over 200 yards rushing in just 18 carries. He had 4 touchdowns. And if they're outpacing teams like this, I mean, I just don't know who has a defense that can run with these guys. The only thing that could potentially stop them or slow them down remotely is inclement weather. Right now, Miami has the inside track to get the #1 overall seed in the AFC, which means they don't have to travel, which is good for them, because if they were to go to Kansas City in the winter, if they were to go to Buffalo or any one of these teams that have wintry surfaces or wintry environments, they would face some difficulty because the traction is different. You can't play as fast, and then that means more ground and pound. But Florida is still pretty hot in December or January, so that's going to be an adjustment for maybe these more East Coast, northern-based teams. And Mike McDaniel, let's just give this man a round of applause. He's by far the coach of the year through 3 weeks. And he has Tua looking like an MVP, let's just face it. This team is loaded, they are stacked, they are very fast, and now they can prove they can run the rock. Last year, it was more like, okay, I got Tyreek, I got Jalen Waddle, I'm just gonna pass to these guys. Now you got a running game, and you can also have Raheem Mostert kind of taking a break, which he did. You can have Devin A-Chain running around loose, and you still have Ahmed, you still have Jeff Wilson that could be coming back from an injury. So there is some depth at that running back position. They have wide receiving depth, even with Berrios. He's a solid slot receiver. Defensively, we're still waiting on Jalen Ramsey to come back. This team is scary. They have a lot to prove. It's 3 weeks. They got off to a hot start last year and kind of muddled through. And also it's based on Tua's health. Absolutely. This is just something I haven't seen before in the NFL. Put up 70 points. Unbelievable.